It's like you obviously you want to be able to take care of all your employees, and you want the best for them and all these type of things as an executive, but you have to make those tough calls and tough decisions sometimes when economics or business wise or competitors, like there's so many different external factors that are outside of the company's control. So that's why you should be always taking care of yourself and making sure that you have transferable skills and making sure that you aren't just you're networking as well, and making sure that you have other options if worst case happens. Even for me, if worst case happens, I need to make sure that I have those options so I can be able to provide for myself and like make a living, right? Because if, like I said, if you just dedicated your entire life to one company and like didn't upgrade your skills and didn't have anything transferable, didn't network with anybody, you get laid off.
It's dark.
It's dark, right?
Yeah.
And you might not get a job for like a year. And I don't know if you've seen it, but I've seen it during the pandemic where people got laid off for companies that like for, let's say, like bartenders, for example, right? Everything was in lockdown for 2-3 years. What could the bars do? The government shut them down. And then bartenders, all they knew how to do was bartend, and they couldn't bartend anymore. So like by not having any transferable skills or developing skills or networking or other options available to you, some of the bartenders were just out for the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, so that's just to future-proof yourself from that.
Future-proof yourself.
Very important, I think, to just keep leveling up yourself and keeps consistently learning new skills and just making sure the skills that you're learning are transferable, right?
Yeah. So that's my main point, right? Like you should future-proof yourself and never rely on one company alone for the rest of your life for you're like making a living.
Fair.
Yeah.
Moving on to a really hot topic right now that's all over everywhere: inflation and this kind of looming recession. Yeah.
Well, like this ties in to like why the layoffs are happening, right? So it's like, even Bank of Canada, the U.S., World Bank, they're all increasing interest rates, right? And then they're trying to fight inflation. They're now thinking that there's going to be stagflation, similar back in the early 90s. So it's wild out there. What are your initial thoughts on it?
No, it's real. It's very real. I think everyone that, funny enough, like you think back in university, I'm a business grad. James took BBA as well, from university, and we learn about the stuff in economics, but you don't see it applied to real life. And you're like, oh my God, there's a reason why all this is happening. Why are they increasing interest rates? Why they're trying to get people to save? Inflation's real, and printing money, and it's scary because it does have an effect. I think inflation is very much real, and salaries aren't keeping up. To be frank, salaries are not keeping up.
No,
everything's gone up in pricing. Eggs were in Canada $2 a dozen when it's on sale. Now it's $2.99. Houses are $1 gazillion. Gas is double the price of what it was like a year or 2 years ago. So it's really real. And then I think there's talks of this looming recession and
do you think we're already in it?
I think we are. We just don't know it yet.
I think we are. I think we are, and then I think it's just like slowly people are accepting that we're in it.
Give it 2 more quarters. I think 2 more quarters by, let's say, September this year. It's going to be next 6 to 12 months are going to be rocky. I think for every life, the market, the job market. Well,
we're seeing it with layoffs. We're seeing it with increased prices, and we're seeing it with layoffs. So it's here.
Well, also there's it's due to the fact that like companies are being a little more cautious because they think it's going to happen too. Right? Like the companies are reacting and planning ahead. It's like,
that's true.
A lot more hiring freezes. Let's conserve some cash to ride out what's gonna come.
Yeah, a lot of companies are doing that. They're liquidating or trying to get be cash rich right now.
Yep. And just trying to be safe. But it's scary, and this is we'll probably chat about this in the next couple of podcasts. But it's an interesting time, put it that way. Very interesting time. We haven't lived through a recession yet, so.
No, we haven't. But I guess for those people who are like really impacted, let's say, those people who are experiencing layoffs, who have like mortgages and have families they have to take care of, like, what are some advice or suggestions would you give to them?
I think it starts with like how, I know this may sound generic, but like it starts with kind of your spending habits, right? Like you gotta try to never, you shouldn't ideally overspend yourself and overextend yourself in terms of like your lifestyle.
Well, people have been doing that but for quite some time now.
Yeah, I mean, they were printing money like crazy last year, 2 years ago. So like, yeah, everyone's getting these COVID checks, they're called, right? And just spending, and it's dark. I would say try to cut back. At least that's what I plan on doing. Just cutting back,
and saving more,
saving a little bit more,
budgeting,
and thinking about must-haves versus nice-to-haves.
Yep.
What about you?
No, I agree. I think saving, budgeting, I think those are some key aspects that everybody could start to do. And looking at even like alternatives, like maybe you don't need a car. You don't have to pay for insurance. You don't have to pay for gas. Maybe you take public transportation. Maybe you take a bike. Whatever the case may be, to have cheaper alternatives for the type of lifestyle that you might have lived before, so you can still maintain and afford the basic necessities like rent, like mortgage, that like you need to pay for. But do you really need to pay for a parking spot in downtown Toronto, and like
probably not, or that expensive dinner,
You can
live without
you can
it,
learn how to cook, get some mac and cheese, get something cheap. But like those are like really good alternatives. But for those that have experienced layoffs, I would suggest to you, I think we've discussed this before, but getting into the tech industry is always going to be a pretty safe bet.
We've seen it recover. I remember back then we saw resumes as a recruiter of those that were affected by 2008, right?
Yeah.
Like we've seen the resumes, and like, we see gaps, and it's okay. It's understandable, right?
Yeah, the gaps are okay. They're understandable, but it's now being able to learn high value skills.
Yes.
And I think that's the key, where you have to look at the market, like what are some jobs and some skills that people can do even in a recession? What are some things that like are necessary and must have, right? That like future proof, recession proof. So getting future proof and like what do you think are some examples of a recession proof job
that I've seen?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a little tough. There's not a lot of recession proof jobs.
Not a lot.
Like
true.
We've seen, and this goes back to the topic of layoffs. I've seen layoffs in big companies, small companies, industries that you don't predict. Okay, one thing I will say is kind of recession proof is government. Government's
pretty recession proof.
Almost not fully bulletproof, but they are less prone to it, I will say.
Insurance
industries, but to be honest, you can't. It's gonna hit us all. I think there's no way to really hide from it. You just gotta accept it.
Yeah.
And then ideally have the transferable skills that you've been building, and then kind of just, you can't be picky. I think that's one thing that I realized. Some people.
That's a good idea. That's a good point.
I realized when I was like recruiting for people, you realize that some people are just picky.
That's true. Okay.
I think
I would agree with you there. Like, if I got laid off today, if I had to, I'd do any job that I needed to in order to make money.
Yeah, be cognizant that like this, you might need something to ride it out. If I couldn't get another job
as a recruiter, I'd be like, all right, I'll like customer service, this and that, like, whatever I need to go to sales, like whatever skill set that I do have that are transferable, like, I'll be open to it.
Try to use it, because I think we've seen it time and time. Some people just get a little too picky, and at the rate that people are learning and the pace that the job market has been going, at least from the last 8-9 years, like people get left behind because
they're so stuck in their ways, and they're still like, they're only willing to do the job that they originally got laid off for.
Yeah, have an open mind.
Which doesn't make too much sense, because like if you got laid off at one job at one company, most likely other companies are laying off the same type of people.
Yeah, so I would say for that, just keep an open mind. That's the best, I think, mindset, and you can always go back
Yeah.
I mean, when the economy recovers and all that jazz, there's options to go back, but keep an open mind. Don't restrict yourself too much that, hey, I only want this job because it pays this much. It's like, well, you know, things are tight.
Things are tight. You got to be more flexible. You got to be a little bit more malleable. So like different types of jobs, jobs that you think are below you type of thing. Like sometimes you got to take that, especially during a recession. Like you can't have an ego about these things.
Yep. So one company.
I think that's a good advice.
Yeah. Moving on to like a company that has been clearly affected because of crypto prices. You have Coinbase, which has recently been hot on the news, rescinding offers for I believe like 300 plus employees. Yeah.
So really insane. Like Coinbase is a good company.
They're big.
They're big and good company though. It's not like it's like a small sketchy company that's like doing like things that are like super risky. Like it like
I mean if you want to talk about risky, I would say there's more risk to their industry than others.
The industry itself, but like the idea behind Coinbase is like it made a lot of sense for that industry.
Fair.
Rather than like starting a brand new like cryptocurrency, that's really risky.
That's really risky.
Yeah.
So amongst things, I mean I would say they're in a volatile industry. That's the reality.
They're in a very
volatile industry. What are your thoughts on the practice of actually rescinding offers like that level of that to that magnitude?
Well, I always find for that type of stuff, it's a very legal matter.
It's tough.
It's a very tough because like you're talking about people who have signed legal contracts for employment, and then you taking that away, and so there could be lawsuits.
Oh, I think there will be.
There could be lawsuits that come from this.
People have left their jobs, their steady jobs. I think I read an article of someone like, you know, what if they left their dream job to pursue this new dream, and they can't go back. They're kind of stuck in the middle, and the mental toll it takes. I can only imagine. I've never
the amount of risk.
You know, as a recruiter, purely from a talent recruiter perspective, we never want to see this happen.
No.
It's never nice. It's never fun.
The worst possible outcome.
Happens. Clearly.
Yeah.
It does happen. I've seen it happen where we've, you know, companies that we've recruited for have rescinded offers, and it's not fun. But especially at that scale, I feel sorry for those folks that.
Me too, and it's never something that we would want anybody to go through. So like, it's fair to say that like lawsuits are gonna happen. People are upset, and I don't know. I don't know it into too much depth about like the decision making and the reasoning behind why Coinbase did this. A lot of people are saying like, oh, like shouldn't they have known before putting out the offer if they can actually hire them?
Going back to that, I think yes. A company should have. It might be a strategic issue internally then that they didn't plan for the headcount appropriately. You know, like when you, especially at that magnitude, it's different if it was double digits.
Yeah, it was
single
like
digits.
5, 10.
325. That's a miss. I personally think that's a bit of a misstep on the company's perspective.
Yeah.
And it's not the individual. It probably isn't at the hiring manager level. It's someone above that, and they just want to. I think I read a LinkedIn article of someone saying it's an easy way for a company to just sign off on paper,
right?
But it has so much bad implications. And I think the underlying issue is
it's costly to hire someone because it's onboarding, training, the equipment that you have to send to them.
Well, I think they're paying their severance is 3 months. I think I read it somewhere. Their severance is 3 months, which doesn't even. I don't think it would even matter. You can't even monetize. Like you can't put a price on that. It sucks.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like I can imagine if you're looking forward to it, you might even have to relocate, or you plan relocation.
Ooh,
that's a crummy part.
Oh, that would be
right.
Absolutely.
Think
terrible.
about you. James, for example, I know when he first started his career, he moved to Toronto to start his first job.
Yeah.
And how crappy you were already scrambling enough already finding a place. I remember this back then.
Yeah.
So imagine like.
Getting a new appointment, moving to a new city, and then signing a lease for a year, doing all these type of stuff, and then to find out that you're off, you don't have a job.